back on the show. John, how are you, bud?
What do you say, Rich?
Well, what I say first, before we get to this conversation with Blake, I was on Dan Patrick's show earlier this morning, and he told me to ask you about the time that you guys drove to a game in Detroit on Easter.
Oh God!
And I should just let it go from there. That's what he said. So
I hope that's all he said.
That's all he said.
That's as much as you're going to get out of me.
So he went ahead and gave me a not safe for work story to bring up on the air. I should have known better.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan.
So
appreciate that.
He said just let it go from there. See where it goes from there. And
I'm going to let it go. If you want to call me off the air, I'll be more than happy to tell you what happened.
I should have known better with Dan, you know. Oh, my gosh. All right, so here you are, John, on the show on a day after we learn about Blake Griffin getting involved in a set-two with one of his buddies. What do you make of all this, John?
Yeah, obviously very disappointing. I mean, he's getting ready to come back after being out for, 14, 15 games. And, I'd like to know a little more about the story. I know he's an equipment manager. I know he's a guy that spent a lot of time with Blake. He's actually been on vacation with him. He actually even went with Blake when they went to Dallas to go scoop up DeAndre Jordan before he signed with the Mavericks. So he's a guy that's very close with DeAndre. I don't know how close he is with a bunch of the other players on the Clippers, but that is the first thing that I'm thinking about is if this guy's very close with a bunch of the players on this team, you could have a major problem here. Doc Rivers could have a problem with Blake Griffin, and maybe all these guys are upset with Blake Griffin that he took out one of his friends, much less that they're going to miss him for another. Look, it's going to be 6 weeks. I broke the same bone in my hand, non-shooting hand, and was out for 6 weeks. So, this is a potential major problem for this team.
So you needed surgery on your hand also?
I did surgery, and it was 6 weeks where, you could barely even just touch the hand with an index finger, and it hurt. That's major. And then the shooting hand, it could, be a big problem with a guy that, has taken his shooting to another level. I don't know if that could be a problem for that moving forward.
Well, the way I'm just looking at it from the outside, that if Doc Rivers could handle the Donald Sterling situation as expertly as he did, that this should be a walk in the park, unless, you're dealing with a united locker room on that front. Is this a different story, a totally different ball of wax that Doc may have more of a difficult time putting back together, do you think, John?
Well, yeah. If this guy is good friends with Chris Paul and J.J. Redick, and I know he's friends with DeAndre Jordan, they've been on vacation, what if they take his side in this whole matter and they go up against Blake? I don't know. Again, it's too early in this story to tell. I don't know what exactly happened. I know Blake and him are friends as well. But this could be something that divides this locker room. This is something that this Clipper team – look, if they don't get it done again this year, do you come back with this same group? There's been talk that they could move one of those three players, Jordan, Paul, or Blake. I would think that this could be one step out the door for Blake Griffin if he's out for a while and this team flounders.
But the team is actually doing well without him. Let's talk about that. Why is this team succeeding on the court with Blake Griffin gone? And do we make anything other than the fact that maybe the matchups over these last 15 games have been more favorable record-wise for the opponents? What do you make of it, John?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that. They've beaten, I think they're 3-2 on teams that are over 500 after beating Indiana last night, an Indiana team that's really struggling. So I'm not, reading in that people are saying, oh, they're better without Blake Griffin. No, they've got a nice record. They've played better. They were 16-13, I believe, when Blake went out. So give them credit. They've stepped up and played better. But this is not a team that can contend for a championship without Blake Griffin. So let's not be fooled by what's going on right now. They need Blake Griffin. He's a guy that averages almost 24 points and 8 rebounds, and they're a better team with him. There's no question about it. But this is a major blow. You're talking, I'm guessing, at least 2 months. And at that point, where are they going to be in the Western Conference? I don't know that they can solidify their spot in the top 4. I think they'll slide and that's going to be very difficult for this team to make a run.
Yeah. In the meantime, they are 29-16, a good 12 games behind Golden State in the loss column. I mean, what Golden State did to the Spurs on Monday night was truly something else. I know they didn't have Duncan, but what they've done in the last week and a half, essentially, after losing to Detroit, has been breathtaking. I mean, how do you stop this team? What do you do to beat the Golden State Warriors, John?
I don't know. Steph Curry has changed the game of basketball because you have to guard him now basically 45 feet away from the basket. As soon as he comes over the half-court line, you've got to be ready. And when you run a pick and roll that high, typically you don't have to worry about it. You just go underneath the screen, meet him on the other side. But if you do that, he can pull up and make that shot. And it's absolutely incredible what they've been able to do. I had so much fun watching that game. I mean, he's Curly Neal. He's Meadowlark Lemon. He's Barry Sanders. He's Pete Maravich. I mean, he's something like this league has never seen the way he's playing. And to do it against the best defensive team in the NBA. San Antonio's giving up 89 points a game going into that game. They had 92 at the end of three quarters. They're incredible. I don't know what you do to stop them on the offensive end. I think they're indefensible.
Yeah, they go for the Magic's second best winning streak of all time, the Shaq Penny Hardaway era of the Orlando Magic. They won 40 games in a row, and they go for that tonight against Dallas. And then there's the Bulls, obviously, that's next for us to be discussing. And I had your dad on the show yesterday.
Oh, wow.
I did. Rick was on the show yesterday, and the Bulls that I was referring to, obviously the record-setting Bulls, the 72-10 Bulls. I asked your dad that about what Shaq and Barkley are saying, that those Bulls would just crush the current Warriors, just destroy them. And your dad took issue with that. And then I said, well, Jordan would obviously cover Curry and blanket him, and this was your dad's response.
Never would happen. Let me tell you this. I hear this word, he's a defensive stopper. Trust me. There is no such thing as a defensive stopper in the game of basketball. The greatest defensive player cannot stop the greatest offensive player. Just ask Bill Russell if he stopped Will Chamberlain all the time. No, it doesn't happen. You pray that the guy's having a bad game, and you try to do as much as you can to make him work harder to get the points he's going to get. But if he's on his game, you cannot stop him. So that's absurd. I mean, there's no way that Michael Jordan's going to shut down Steph Curry. That's not going to happen. Just like nobody could shut Michael down.
What do you think of that, John?
It's always nice to hear. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a defense can make it a lot tougher on a guy. I get what he's saying, though, that if a guy's got it going, he's got it going. And no matter what kind of defense you play on any given night, a guy could absolutely score at will. But I don't know. I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about the Warriors playing the 59 Celtics? I mean, I don't know. I mean, some of those guys couldn't play in the NBA nowadays. So, it's silly to make comparisons. I hope that the Warriors do it. It'd be a lot of fun to see them down the stretch try to go for 73 wins. It'd be cool to see. It
sounds like you've heard that from your dad before, that a shooter can't be stopped when the shooter's on.
Yes, I have heard this many a time.
The hot hand theory, essentially, is what
hot hand. Yes,
your dad's throwing out.
If he didn't have the hot hand, we didn't get to eat dinner at times.
I like it. He sounded giddy about how good the Warriors are, though. Your dad sounded like off the charts giddy about how the Warriors are playing.
Yeah, well, I think it was fun for him to come back last year. It was 1975 when they had won, so it was 40 years ago to the day, I guess, last year, and it was an unbelievable atmosphere up here in Oakland. If anybody is an NBA fan and you want to go see a road game, you come here to see it. And I'm actually here tonight. I'm doing the Warriors Mavericks tonight.
Fantastic.
It's a great, great atmosphere. And, I mean, this team has really, really made it fun to watch basketball. There's no question about it.
John Barry joining me here. I'm sure you saw, obviously, then the way that the Mavericks-Lakers game finished up last night, where Kobe had an interesting night on the bench last night. Did you see what he told Larry? Did you see how he came and showed up and didn't have a seat, and he basically pointed to the rookie Larry Nance and said, "You get up, I'm sitting down." Did you see that, John?
No problem, man. Yeah, I mean, that's been done before.
Did that happen to you? Did something like that ever happen to you? when you were a rookie?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, well, a little bit different back in 1992. I mean, when you were a rookie, you spoke when you were spoken to, basically. A little different nowadays, as these kids are entitled when they come out. But absolutely, I got no problem with them telling Larry Nance to take a seat.
To get up, you get down to the floor. I'm sitting down, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So was Moses Malone on your? He was the veteran on your rookie season.
I played with Moses. Moses played with my father and played with me. How about that?
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So
Big Mo.
So who was the worst, hazing you or something like that? Was it him?
No, Mo didn't haze me. He was cool. Frank Burkowski was my guy that used to abuse me, and Brad Lohaus. We had just an unbelievable team in Milwaukee. I think we won 23 games. It was all great fun.
Yeah, and then Dirk hit the game-winning shot, and then landed practically in Kobe's lap. Kobe gave him a little tap on the butt and a little, nod, like good job, Dirk. Did you see that one too?
Amazing to see Kobe, going out like this. I mean, I think the second greatest competitor in the game to Michael Jordan, and just them getting their heads beat in every night, and he's laughing and smiling and waving at the crowds. It's I know it's difficult for him to go out like this, but you know what? It is reality. They're turning the page, and they're very, very bad this year.
Yeah, they're only 2 games better than the Sixers right now.
How about that?
2 games. So, all right, John, look, have a good broadcast tonight. I appreciate it. And then next time we chat, I'll get that Dan story from you. Okay, John?
You can have that prior to when we come on or after we get off, whatever you choose.
All right,
and by
John.
the way,
yeah.
I had Minnesota pick to beat Seattle if it wasn't for Blair Finkel. So
wow,
I'm a little disappointed
laces
in that.
out. Finkel is where you went with Blair Walsh right there, John. Huh.
Well, he made one laces out from 47, and he can't make it from 27. So come on.
Now, this is because you're a die-hard Vikings fan, right, John? Die-hard
Correct.
Vikings fan.
Well, they covered anyway. So it didn't matter.
Too much, man. What do you think about Super Bowl 50 then? What do you think about that one?
Carolina, I think, is destined to win. I really believe it. I know it's a swan song probably for Peyton, but
right.
Man, I don't know what you do with Cam Newton. This guy is unbelievable.
He is huge. He could be a power forward, essentially.
He could be whatever he chooses to be.
Yeah, I know.
He could be equipment manager for the Clippers.
No. Then Blake would be the one in the hospital,
Correct.
I think.
Correct. He would have broke more of his hand. He would have had his face broken.
Exactly.
As well.
John, take care of yourself, okay, bud?
All right, be well, Rich. Have a good Super Bowl week.
Thank you. We'll chat after. That's John Barry.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.